Let's break it down so the audience can follow us, right? Mm-hmm. So every encounter with a police officer falls into four levels. Yep. And actually, there's actually a level 0 in theory, but there's 4 levels, right? So can you tell the audience what are the levels?
So it's level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Objective credible reason is level 1. Mm-hmm. Founded suspicion is level 2. Reasonable suspicion is level 3, and level 4 is an arrest.
Which is probable cause.
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because when I was preparing for this episode, the literature I was reading, the memo that I was reading, it started off backwards. And I was kind of like, well, like, why are you so, like, initially it didn't make any sense to me. But when I started reading it and prepping, I realized, oh, it makes more sense because you're going from certainty to uncertainty. So I think it makes sense to start at 4 because 4 is the simplest thing. It's probable cause, right? It's more likely than not that you've committed a crime. I can establish that in multiple ways. I can see you commit a crime. Someone could report that you committed a crime, right? Like, as long as I think you committed a crime, more likely than not, I can arrest you.
Yeah.
So that's level 4, right? That's like you said before. In theory, we feel like we're always there because we feel like we could be arrested any second without a drop of a dime. Yep. But it actually takes more than. Like I have to know you committed a specific crime.
In a perfect world where policing is done, but like that's like that. I'm 36 years old. That's never been my experience as an attorney, as a public defender, as a criminal defense attorney, as a young adult, as a teenager. I mean, like this is the difference between like on paper legally and then like the implication of it. Police officers most of the time don't have the training and knowledge of like laws, and procedures. They go off of gut feeling. They go off of roll calls and what they're told, and then the culture of that thing. And I agree. But also, like, the reality of it is the problem is the rules aren't. I mean, that's what the whole Floyd said. It was This was nobody said that Terry stops when done properly, right, with the heavy eye rolling is not unconstitutional. The problem is the New York City's police department's implementation of these stops was unconstitutional. 4th, 5th, 14th Amendment. And it was done at such a high volume in its height, and even now, with no real numbers to back it up, you have this thing where like police aren't following the procedure to a T because of all these other like factors that go into it. And I'd love to live in a perfect world. You know what I mean?
We've been. I mean, I'm in Crim Pro now, and we've been talking about how police practice over time develops. It's always changing, and there's new technology and things every day that change the way they make arrests, the way they interact with people, and the way they could look into people's lives. And police take advantage of that because it's a gray area. And then they'll use these new tactics to snoop around in your life.
Consent. I mean, most police interactions is done by consent. Mm-hmm. They use it's not even knowledge of the law. They lose their power to get you to do things that are not in your interest. And that's why I said like even these level 1 stops are problematic because of the history, the past experience, and just like. Before you can just have a regular conversation with me, like my neighbor or Aki, I don't know if it's Aki from the bodega or whatever, whoever
we got
whoever it is, right? Those are people that that they see you, that interact with you on a human level. Like police in these communities, in all communities. That's not the interaction, and maybe like for like other people in our society it is, and like I have a hard time understanding that, and that's not my reality, and that's not millions of Americans, that's not millions of New Yorkers, hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers' reality.
Just to speak on that, right? Because every time I do a workshop, what I do, I set the tone with these 3 words, right? There's your rights, right? There's the realities, right? And then there's your responsibility, right? So I always set the tone with that because I want folks to understand I'm speaking from your rights, but we know the realities, right? But then it's your responsibility to equip yourself with the information that I'm giving you, right? And so that way you can protect yourself through these encounters. Now you know that when an officer tells you something that you could just keep walking because he's saying, hey, excuse me, hey, excuse me. You could just keep walking, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that most people feel like they're going to clam up, they're going to stop, they're going to sit, they're going to feel like it's a stop, right? So what he's saying is exactly correct. So I always like to set the tone with those three things because that's super important.
So we started at the top, probable cause meaning arrest. So before that, which is probably the state of New York City, is what's called reasonable suspicion. Which it's supposed, what's important the audience has to understand is that to get to reasonable suspicion is no light thing. But the fact that cops think that you're are always there is insane, and that's kind of why we're here talking about it. But reasonable suspicion means that I have a strong suspicion that you are the person that committed a crime that I know about. And I just haven't 100% confirm it. So because I have this suspicion, I can do as much as stop you, I can hold you, I can wait for the witness who's gonna be able to go from reasonable suspicion to probable cause so I can arrest you to show up and identify you, right? And if what's important is that if it is a violent crime that I'm suspicious of you, for my own safety, I can search you. Now,
Frisk or search?
Frisk. Pat down.
Frisk.
search.
Frisk.
For my own safety. So that is level 3, right? Now, where it becomes interesting, right? Because those are kind of the more well-defined levels. And those are the levels that we kind of feel like we're almost constantly interacting with. But in truth, there are more important levels, 1 and 2. How would you explaining 1 and 2 to like your audience?
1 and 2? So I always use real-time scenarios for community members. I try to do that, and I try to give them different examples. So one example, like I used earlier, say a fight happened, officer might come up to you, hey, did you see anything, right? I also like to use this term, non-accusatory questions, right? So a question that they're not accusing you of something, how you doing today? Did you see anything? A fight happened around the corner, did you see anything? This is what we call a consensual encounter. You could say, officer, I didn't see nothing, and you could just walk away. Or you could look at the officer and just walk away. Like it's a consensual encounter. You do not have to interact with the officer at this point. Level 2 is where it gets tricky because it's like a real gray area because at level 2 they can actually ask you for consent to search, right? But they have to have a reason to get there. That could be 911 calls. That could be furtive movements, right? It could be, you know, like so. And I want to pause right there because I know this is going to be a great conversation, right?
Furtive movements.
So how do we define furtive movements? Right?
How the police officer defines it.
So let's talk about how the police officer defines furtive movement. So furtive movement could be blading of the body, right? The officer walk by, you go like this, and it seems like you hiding something. Furtive movement could be you pulling at your waistband, right? Furtive movement could be you pulling your shirt down. Furtive movement could be you changing directions when you see the cop, right? Those
Which
are all.
is your constitutional.
Sounds like being alive.
Being alive. I mean, that could be it. But right, what is the definition of furtive movements, right? That would get you to that level 2 suspicion. Again, a level 2 is still a consensual encounter. An officer comes up to you at level 2. Hey, where you going? Now we're talking about accusatory questions. Right? We went from non-accusatory questions, level 1. Level 2, we had accusatory questions. Hey, what's you got anything in your pockets? What's that bulge right there? Right? Accusatory questions, right? Officer, I don't consent to a search. Am I free to leave? Right? Officer at that point has to tell you yes because it's a consensual encounter. You turn around and walk away. Right? Now it can escalate to level 3, but different things. But I definitely wanted us to have that conversation around furtive movements because I think that's like that gray area.
So it's a catch-all. I mean, furtive movement is a catch-all. It is a subjective thing that a police officer can then say sometimes post hoc the stop to justify whatever it is that they may have whatever contraband that they may have found or not. Furtive movement is it's a catch-all. I mean, it's a way for it. It's just
It's a rule that eats the rule.
100%. It's a lubricated path that police put like you just slide right into going into your pockets, right?
And crime rate in those areas affect those encounters as well, don't they?
But what do you
crime
consider
rate
a high crime area?
Well, from my experience, I mean, it's police traffic certain areas. There's a lot more police traffic in certain areas, but we've been talking about this in class, and we're talking about that it sometimes when, for instance, like when you flee unprovokedly, I don't know if I'm using that word the correct way, but yeah, it depends on the crime rate in that area, and if the police officer sees someone fleeing in a high crime rate area.
So this I don't mean to, but this word high crime rate area is another one of those police words that they use like furtive.
It's fake.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
There's no stats to back it up except for police's own stats. Like I guarantee you this: if you have undercover police officers in Wall Street firms and like, you know, all of those scenes, you're gonna get drug busts, you're gonna get corruption busts, and then does that become a high crime area? Is it the fact that police have that like almost every single project has a fucking police station either attached to it or down the block from it? I mean it's high crime areas is just over policed areas of communities of color. That's what it is. So like. Once again, the system is designed to self-justify its own actions, and that's the mess we're in.
So I think what's important, because I think I 100% agree with what you're saying, and the reality is, if a number can create a rule, and you're the person that controls the number, don't you create the rule? And I think that's what you're saying, is that you determine if this is a high crime area, because you arresting motherfuckers for nothing. If you want to go arrest a bunch of white people for nothing, it would be a high crime area to be in those areas.
Yeah, like he said, if you go to Wall Street and you see someone fleeing, is that officer going to continue to pursue that person?
But see, there's a rule to fleeing too within Dubois. I don't speak about this rule because the reason why I don't speak about it is because what's the analogy you used earlier?
It's a term of art.
No. Go with the dog.
Yes. So basically, look, I think let's put it in context, right? Flight, when attached to this conversation, it is a level increaser, right? What that means is that if I'm at a level 1 and you run, I'm now at a level 2.
No, that's not true. You could run at a level 1.
No, you can run.
You can run at a level 2 too, because they're consensual stops. I mean, you can always walk away.
But at a level 2, it escalates to level 3 if you run, because they have founded suspicion.
Understand what I'm saying?
To detain you and then question you.
Flight. The art of running away from where you're currently standing, right, is a level increaser.
Yeah. Meaning
that it can take a 2 to a 3.
Absolutely.
It can take a 1 to a 2. It can take a 0 to a 1, right? Now what's important, and this is like the most important you can understand as an audience member, is that whether it took a 1 to a 2, right, or whether it took a 2 to a 3, is why you're doing 5 years in jail right now. That's the reason you're in jail.
Yeah.
Because when they chase you and they search you, right, they are going to the best of their abilities, argue that at minimum they were at a 2. Because if they can successfully argue that they were at a 2, that flight took them to a 3.
Yep.
And because it took them to a 3, they not only could they grab you, stop you, for their safety, they can search you, right?
Well, that's where I think it kind of gets like, so then, I mean, the pat down, really, the search has to be a little bit more, right? The pat down in level 3, the frisk, it can only be if there is a violent crime or suspected violent crime associated with it, and it can only be on top of that if they see a bulge or something that they can check to see if it's a gun or not. So like,
but it can't only be a bulge. It has to be an L-shaped bulge. It
has to be a bulge that's
identifying as a weapon. Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
And so like it's still like, you know, even if you run. Being in a high crime area means that you're suspected of a violent act. High crime could be drugs It could be property crime. You know, and so like it doesn't necessarily, you know. It doesn't necessarily mean that police can then go into your pockets and find the drugs that you know, like
Yeah.